Hello and welcome to Nerdarchy. For nerds by nerds, I'm Nerdarchus Dave, and today I'm hanging out with the OG Blerd. How are you doing today?
I am doing awesome. How are you?
Good. I'd found you on TikTok, where I find a lot of people I bring on here to talk about, just because I find it's like I like that space over there because it is. I feel like it's one of the more innovative things to happen in the D&D space since like Critical Role, right? There's a lot of diverse voices over there, from like all different demographics, and it's been great to be like a voyeur over there and just like kind of hang out. If you'd be
It
so
is. It really is.
kind to introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I am, as they call me on TikTok, OG Blerd P, triple OG. Just a crazy little name I came up with. And, or you can feel free to call me Perez. That's what everyone else calls me. Or OG. I'll answer to either. And I started TikTok back in late August, going into September, just wanting an outlet, and plus I had tons of friends sending me TikTok videos all the time, and I got tired of having to go through like 3 different steps in order to see what they were sending me. So I finally installed the app, and I just put myself out there, just making videos about anything that my blurty self like: anime, manga, Marvel, DC, Star Wars, and of course my love for Dungeons and Dragons since I got introduced into it, and it took off from there. I've
So how long
found
have
the D
you
and D community.
how long have you been playing D&D?
I have been playing D and D for completely for a little bit over 2 years now.
Nice. And that one of the things I really enjoy about people that are coming into the D&D community now is like you folks are hitting the ground running. Like you come in, you start playing, and like you're making products or creating content where it felt like for a long time that like there was a bar and you had to like earn your stripes or whatever. And yeah, I feel like it was self-imposed and you know more than anything, but it's nice to see people coming in and just sharing the hobby and their passion for it. And I guess now you also have a lot more outlets for it as well.
That is true. That is true. Like in my videos, I'll sometimes say, like, look, I've only been playing D and D for 2 years. I'm not technically a forever DM, and I'm just telling you my opinion, my outlook on things. I don't know all the rule books from start to finish, but I do at least read and pay attention to the rules so to actually know how the game is supposed to work. But I just love being able to tell stories and have fun and be all of these different characters and find other people who love to do the same.
Have you tried DMing yet?
I have. How I ended up becoming a DM was a weird and unexpected situation. I received an invite to a Discord server to play D&D, and so it was right around the time I had started with my in real life group, and so hopped in, made a character, and just started role playing. The DM who made the server liked my storytelling and asked me if I wanted to be like like a co-DM, help out around the site. I was like, oh, okay, cool. Ran a I ran a site back during high school and college for role playing. It was mainly anime and DBZ based, but hey, storytelling is storytelling. So all of this happened when I actually was off for a week from work. And so I just had nothing but free time. Plus, I had to quarantine in my room to make sure I wasn't sick. So I literally had nothing but free time. So I was just running missions and making random stories for different people to play through. And it ended up catching so much traction that the other guy didn't have time for it. he was like, okay, this is moving a lot faster than I expected. You know, we just expected it to be a casual thing, so we're gonna let you have it. I was like, what? Huh?
It's like
What?
you're standing in line and everyone else stepped back.
Literally, I was like, I
Yeah.
just joined this thing like 3 days ago. What do you mean you're like, dude? You've been running all the missions. I'm like, we were just having fun.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
all. We were
You're like, well, keep having fun.
like, well, keep having fun. You got it. Boom.
Yeah.
And so next thing I know, I'm the DM of a Discord server, and they're like, hey, so what are we doing next? I'm like, and what's the overall arc of the campaign? I'm like, give me a few days and I'll get back to you.
Yeah.
So literally just scouring through the monster manual online, scouring through different videos and different books. I'm like, okay, I gotta find a big bad. I gotta fit 2 heads, tentacle arms, Lord of the Abyss, Demogorgon. Got it.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yep, that's the big bad, and we're gonna find some way to work all of this in. And we just took off and hit the ground running.
If you don't mind me asking, how old are you?
I am 35.
Nice. So like that's the other thing that's kind of really cool too is like people are coming to the hobby much later in life. I find like from our YouTube channel what we've seen is a lot of people seem to like find our channel like after they've been out of the hobby for a while and come back, you know, and new people as well. But now it's like I'm meeting people in their 30s. I've met um uh one woman we had on and talked to her for a bit. She was like, I think in her 50s, maybe 60s, and like that are coming to the hobby for for the first time. And the funny thing, like with that woman, she's like, oh, we need more things to do because we're all in quarantine, and I think and my son wanted to play D&D, and like so she like figured out for them to all play D&D and get it, hire GMs or whatever. And then like it turns out like the rest of the family wasn't into it as much. And now like she's retired, her husband's going off to work, and like 8 o'clock in the morning she's on the computer, in a campaign, doing a squeaky gnome voice. So it's
Oh yeah.
it's crazy to see where the hobby's gotten to since I first started and back in the satanic panic of the
Oh
80s.
man, I've heard so much about that. I mean, I actually do remember growing up, like hearing about D&D and it having that connotation.
Yeah.
But once I actually got into it and started playing, like I explained to someone, I was like, yeah, dude, it's no different than me literally turning on my PlayStation and playing a Final Fantasy or playing Elden Ring or a Souls game or just any type of fantasy RPG. I'm like, the only difference is you're rolling dice and you're actually making up your character story. I'm like, all of the other stuff attached to it, nah. I'm like, now true enough, yes, within the world of D&D, you do have demons and devils and all types of other abominations from the abyss and the nine hells, but nobody's worshiping them. Your character may have a patron. You don't. There's a big
Yeah.
difference, or at least we hope you don't.
And in theory, they're probably the bad guys.
Usually they're the
Yeah.
bad guys.
Yeah.
And we're always out to stop the bad guys. Unless you're running an evil campaign, then maybe not.
So do you prefer being a player or a GM?
I would probably say I prefer being a player. I don't mind being a GM. It's fun. But having to come up with and keep up with everything can get tiring.
Yeah.
It can get tiring, but it's still fun. It's still fun because I love to see the characters and the players do epic things. So I'm going to try to create stories and scenarios and plot hooks and things to enable you to be as epic as you want to be.
That's well said. I think that's a good objective for any GM is like, even, Doug Nerded or Doug runs our website, has said time and time again is like, I'm just here to help facilitate the story that the players want to tell. And,
Yes.
And to me, that's the pinnacle of what being a GM is, especially having gone through playing with plenty of GMs who are very adversarial, or they're there to tell their story, and like the players just happen to be along for the ride.
Yes. Yes. You do have instances of that of the DM who feels like it's them versus the player. I have been in a campaign before, an online one, where you felt like the DM was just telling their story. Your character
Yeah.
just happened to be there, and you don't have fun when it's like that, because it gets to a point like in the adversarial setting where you as a player, you can tell like, okay, this person is out to get us. Like
Yeah.
it's no longer like we're just playing this game. Like they're literally out to get us. They want us dead.
Which, yeah, like for me, like what's the fun in that? Like I literally am holding all the cards, right? So
It's like you want them dead. They're level 5. Drop a CR20 monster in front of them and just
yeah.
do it.
So do you have a particular type of character you like to play?
Uh, I like to play. I would probably say I like to play the solemn martial artist, like the solemn monk.
Okay.
Dedicated. Completely dedicated to the art and bettering himself. My character that I played through Descent into Avernus and Rise of Tiamat was a Dragonborn Paladin, and I had a lot of fun playing that one. I do like playing Dragonborns just because they like to strive to be the best in everything they do.
Yeah.
But the character that's a good guy, just a decent guy. He might not be, the straight arrow Boy Scout Captain America type, but overall he's a good guy, and he's just trying to make something of himself.
Do you have a favorite monk subclass?
It's a tie. It's a tie between Way of the Ascendant Dragon and Way of the Open Hand.
Yeah, the Way of the Open Hand still holds up pretty well.
Yes.
I know Ted is chomping at the bit to play a Way of the Ascendant Dragonborn.
I mean, how can you not? It just fits. It just fits so well.
And and also Dragonborn got a nice boost in fizz bands.
Very true. Very true. It made them a lot more viable. When I first started playing my Dragonborn Paladin, I was like, I feel kind of underpowered to be, a dragon man.
It doesn't take very long for your breath weapon to not really mean anything.
That was my whole thing. I'm like, okay, because when I looked at like what the max the old breath weapon could do once you got the max level, and then I went into the monster manual and I was like, okay, so let me compare this to the actual dragons. And I was like, wait a minute. You mean to tell me that even at level 20, my breath weapon is just barely as strong as a wormling?
Yeah.
Like,
I wasn't sure exactly where you're going with it, but that's a great analogy.
Because I did. I was like, okay, I really want to see how strong this is. I want to have something to compare it to. And so I went and looked at like, a red dragon wormling.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even as strong as that.
Yeah.
Like I think the old one used to be equal to, equal to either a green or brass dragon wormling, and
Yeah,
you're at level 20.
right from the beginning, the thing that we did to fix it was just to let them use their breath weapon as a bonus action.
That
So,
makes sense.
so like this way, like it's an extra thing that they do instead of it being the thing that they do, where like with the way of the Ascended Dragon and the Fizzbands Dragon, where it's kind of nice. It's like, oh well, you can swap out an attack for one of those, which makes it a lot better. And if you happen to be in the way of the Ascended Dragonborn, then you could breathe twice in one round. So I mean that's pretty
Complete.
cool.
And that's never a bad thing. And then you could also change your breath weapon.
Yes. Yeah, you can have some variety. So, how did you get it? How did you get into D&D? What was your entry point?
My entry point was back during college. I actually went into the mall one day where I grew up, and walked into the tabletop game store. Like I had always seen it, but never really went in there or spent any time in. And I walked in and just start going up and down the aisles, and I found the 3.5 Draconomicon. So being someone that has an extreme love of pretty much anything dealing with dragons, I was like, yep, I'm grabbing that. And that was my first introduction into the world of Dungeons and Dragons. And I had that book for years, ended up losing it after I got married and we moved into the house. And I started, in the midst of looking for it, I was like, you know what? I want to start playing. I want to learn how to play. And so I hopped on Facebook, and I made a post that literally said, I want to take my nerddom to the next level.
Yeah.
I want to learn to play D&D. And a friend of mine who is now my DM was the first person to reply to that post. And he said, hey, I work at a game shop and I DM games. Hit me up. And the rest is history.
Now, was it just like on your wall, or did you like go to one of the groups and post?
No, it was just on my personal wall.
Okay.
Just out, because I knew I had friends that had grew up playing it and different associates that played. So I was like, okay, I know somebody's gonna see this and
yeah,
hopefully help me out. And so met up with him, and they had just began Descent into Avernus and had a character that had been created by a friend of his that was visiting from across country. And when he left, they had no one to play that character. And I was like, well, what is it? He said, it's a Dragonborn, or you'll be a Paladin. I was like, I like Dragonborns.
yeah.
Not really sure how Paladins work, but I'll learn. And that was it.
What you learn right away is, oh, I touch things and they explode.
Yes. Hit something for the first time. Like, so you gonna smite? Like, what's a smite? It's like, oh yeah, you're still okay. So yeah, you get to just do extra damage. It's like, what? It's like, yeah, you sacrifice this and you just boom. I'm like, oh, that's nice. I think I shall.
Nice. Yeah, I so my wife is kind of new to the hobby. She plays in a couple of groups with us now. And we did a one shot. So usually she asked me to give her a hand with her character. I'm like, well, here, you can play a paladin, they're kind of easy. And then, going from a Gloomstalker Ranger, which did a bunch of damage, and then then playing a paladin that also does a bunch of damage. It's like, oh, matter of fact, I think that might be one of the reasons our other new player in the campaign we're playing now is playing a paladin, because we saw how much damage they do.
I mean, tacking on those smites can be really fulfilling.
So, what kind of content do you like to create over on TikTok? What can people expect over there?
The majority of it at the current moment is mainly things dealing with things dealing with D&D, like just character ideas that I've had, different classes. Like sometimes I'll ask, what are other people's favorite classes? Stitch the video, let me know.
Yeah.
I had one video on my old account where, like, I've never played a druid. So I wasn't completely well versed on the mechanics, and so I made a video, asking like, hey, tell me what are the perks to playing druids? And oh boy, why did I say that? The videos and the stitches just started flowing in like, dude, how can you not play a druid? It's the best thing in the world. But mainly D&D content, things dealing with anime, Marvel, DC, Pokemon, Star Wars. But at the current moment, my heart's a little taken by D&D.
Yeah, it has that effect on people. Have you tried any other RPGs yet?
We did, in real life group, we did do a Starfinder one shot one Sunday.
How did you like that?
It was fun. It was the space age and futuristic part. It was fun. It was just, just had to relearn a few things, but I had a lot of fun. He was like, so did y'all like it? I was like, yeah, we liked it. I was like, well, I liked it, and everyone else did too. He was like, okay, so y'all would be cool with running a campaign in this setting. Like, oh, most definitely. Like, yeah, cool, no problem.
Yeah, and I mean it's a D20 system, so it's fairly close to D&D, so like the learning curve is a little less, but Pathfinder is slightly more complex than D&D. I've played, we did one campaign of Starfinder, and then I played a one shot where it was Skittermander, yeah, Skittermander one shot, and there are little fuzzy things that all look like kind of look like Stitch from Lilo and Stitch.
Oh, that is awesome.
And that was fun. Although I was a little disappointed because the GM for that game was the one that I believe he wrote the adventure, and it was a stream, and I think he was just he should have killed us. Like our characters had deserved to die at the end because we were like it was like a countdown. Like we had to do a thing or the ship was going to vent, and we should have definitely been vented. And I think he was just like trying to take it easy on us, and I would have much preferred that we got vented because that would have been funny.
Well, sometimes the DM shows mercy.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
But it was also a one shot, and it's like towards the end of the adventure, so I'm like, that's fine. You can totally space us. But it was fun. I know, like I think like the adventure is like the ship's taken over by the corrupted AI, and you have to deal with like droids and drones and stuff. And I remember like we went through most of the ship with a crate turned over upside down over top of us. So it's just like this crate in our feet, like going around. And once we see something, we just drop down the hide.
Old Metal Gear Solid style.
Yeah. Don't underestimate the power of a box.
Never. The things that a singular box allows you to do on Metal Gear Solid was amazing.
Are there other genres that you're interested in exploring? I know you said you're an anime fan.
When it comes to different genres, like I do have a PS4. I unfortunately have not been able to upgrade to a PS5, and I mainly enjoy playing RPGs.
Well, that's what I meant in RPG space. Other than like because D&D is primarily fantasy.
Genres, I like horror. I do like horror, like vampires, the Castlevania series, Underworld, things of that sort. So I've had people ask me about Vampire the Masquerade, but I've never
Yeah.
played it. And like in terms of other TTRPGs, I guess I'm still so new that I'm still trying to learn the
Yeah.
ins and outs of Dungeons and Dragons, because I'm starting to see each world, D&D, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Warhammer, it's literally like walking into a giant library every time you delve into a new one. And it can be a bit overwhelming.
It can be, but honestly, like if you start with D&D, you've started with one of the harder games, right? Even like 5e, that's like better designed and easier than the previous editions, is still much harder than a lot of the other RPGs that are out there. There's a lot of like page RPGs that you can learn. Like a friend of mine, Scotty McFarland, had ran us through his system, and it was just called the Simple D6, and was like, here, write these things down on an index card. This is what your character can do, and now you can throw away the index card because it was so little, like
Oh
on
wow.
the index card. So there's like there's all kinds of ways to explore TTRPGs, and you know D&D is just one of them, and you can even do other stuff with D&D. So, are there any particular campaigns you would like to run?
Yes, yes, yes. Mm. I wouldn't mind running Rime of the Frost Maiden, just to see. I wouldn't mind running that as a player, just to see how hard it can be. Rime of the Frost Maiden.
Yeah,
I've been through Descent into Avernus. I've been through Rise of Tiamat. Both of those are fun. Descent into Avernus can be, ooh, it can be a little taxing. It can be a little taxing.
well, I mean, you are going to the abyss or hell.
Yeah, yeah.
There's that.
It's not the best place to be. Everything tastes horrible. Exhaustion levels. Rime of the Frost Maiden. Because there's not a whole lot of them dealing with dragons, and the fact that I've already ran Rise of Tiamat, I'm like, that's kind of like the pinnacle of the ones dealing with dragons. But I mean, I could do Tyranny of Dragons. I wouldn't mind seeing what that's like. And what's another one? Oh, Out of the Abyss. Out of the Abyss. I wouldn't mind doing Out of the Abyss.
I ran an Underdark campaign, and I didn't run that campaign, but I sure did use it for a resource for a lot of stuff.
Ah,
Which
I haven't done a lot dealing with the Underdark, other than I made like one story mission on my
uh,
Discord server where we were exploring towards the Underdark, but what we found was like a massive underground Elithid temple that had had dead mummified frost giants
that's
inside.
terrifying.
And of course those came to life, managed to get past that, and that's when they found the Elithalich.
Nice.
So you had an Elithid temple, only to find out that all the Elithids are dead. There's no Elder Brain, but there is an Elithalich here who just wants your soul.
Was that the build up? Like they are anticipating fighting Illithids, and then the kind of like as a red herring.
Yeah, because like they saw like the murals and the mosaics and like the etchings in the ground, and like they saw the remnants of what should have been like an Elder Brain
Yeah.
where it would be held. Like they saw all of this, like, but it's like, okay, so we see it, we see the brine pool, and then when they came to the brine pool, like everybody was like, oh God, it's a brine pool. I was like, yeah, take a look inside. all the tadpoles are dead. Like it's just dead, murky, nasty brine. It's like, okay, what's going on? And then all of a sudden, from the shadows, just like, hi, how you doing?
Yeah,
They're
that
like, wait a
moment
minute.
we're like, what killed all of this? That can't be good for us if it's still around.
And so that was about the close, because his temple like basically blocked off a further passage deeper into the Underdark.
So was it in the way, and like they by happenstance they kind of end up in his temple?
Basically,
Yeah.
like going through the wrong tunnels, and then as Bugs Bunny used to like to say, made that wrong turn at Albuquerque.
Yeah, for sure. So Brian says OG Blerd with the necktie, best dressed guest award.
I will take it. I will take it.
Do you have any favorite creators that you follow over on TikTok?
Oh, a bunch. I mean, obviously, you all, Nerdarchy.
We're useless to follow over there. We hardly do anything there.
Let's see. DM Zombie, one of the leaders of the Chaotic Conclave.
Oh yes.
They're if you've heard of them, they're a D&D group on TikTok that has grown very, very large, and because it started with just their 6 core players, and they basically began to do a you can almost say like a TikTok visual campaign with their characters, and as it caught traction, it just brought out so many other people within the D&D community, and the conclave began to grow. And so like now, like I made an NPC that got introduced and got used in some of their videos, who was a divine soul sorcerer / swords bard.
It is like one of the least exclusive clubs ever, because my understanding is to be part of the Chaotic Conclave, all you have to do is say you're part of the Chaotic Conclave.
Well, you have that, and then you have those of us that basically knew them as the rise began.
Yeah.
Because I started following Jambi, and he started following me. And at first, I had more followers than he had more followers. Then it jumped back and forth. And next thing I know, I was just like, oh my God, this man has become a superstar. But you got Jambi, Took, I guess, AJ Cinematic, Crafty Mirage, got Caitlin.
Yeah, we've had Crafty Mirage on. We've had Crafty Mirage on and talked to her.
Awesome.
Is Verly part of that too?
Who?
Verly?
That name sounds extremely familiar.
She does.
I think so.
She does a Dampier character most of the time.
That name sounds so familiar. I feel like I've seen that name.
And, yeah, well, TikTok is weird, right? Because like the way it works is like people just show up on your For You page. So like I'll see people for a long time and not even know their name or who they are. But I've liked a lot of their videos or their TikToks, so they keep showing up.
Very true. Very, very true. But let's see. I also follow Eldritch Author. Like I love his content. His stuff is always hilarious. DM Wolf, DM Strife Wolf. It's so many. Like so many people who do, especially Dungeons and Dragons content.
Yeah.
The Blind GM, the Basics of Gaming. Follow both of them.
I think there's like if you search the hashtag over there, you get like over 1 billion hits for D&D. That's crazy.
Oh yes. Like it's just a very welcoming community. A very welcoming. I mean, of course, you do have people who fall into the gatekeeper role, and you have your chaotic stupid
It's
players.
impossible to gatekeep all the gatekeepers.
Yes.
They wiggle their way in.
Yes, that they do. But it's fun. It's fun. Like I think the Chaotic Conclave did a lot to really, really boost up the TikTok D&D community. Like when they did the whole masquerade thing, like that brought in and brought out so many different people. Just so many different people.
Have you cosplayed any of your characters?
I have. I cosplayed the character that I made for the Conclave, Maximilian. And he's a divine soul sorcerer swords bard who kind of dresses like, basically you might as well say dresses like Michael Jackson in the Smooth Criminal video.
Oh, nice.
But but other than him, I haven't cosplayed any of my other characters yet. But he's definitely my favorite. He's definitely my favorite that I have cosplayed because it's a lot of fun.
So are you one day maybe going to show up at your group in cosplay?
I might. I just might. Whenever we would get together during Descent into Avernus or Rise of Tiamat, whenever we got together, I always made sure to wear red because I was a red Dragonborn.
Okay.
So that was like my thing.
Getting into character. Nice.
I guess blame growing up watching Power Rangers. Everyone wore their color every single episode.
So do you think on TikTok, you think you'll get into any non D&D content, or have you done non D&D content?
I have. I've done videos about the Marvel movies, different Marvel characters. I've done videos about I've done anime videos. I had a few people ask me to do some versus videos early on between different anime characters.
Yeah.
I did them even though I was reluctant because I don't like the versus battles.
Oh yeah.
Like because I scale them in my mind and I have my own head canon, and just from knowing how certain characters work, I'm like, some of these battles wouldn't even make sense. Like, let's see what
they definitely will stimulate the comment section though, no matter what.
It'll stimulate the comment section. It'll stimulate the comment section because people have their favorites and people will go in. Like, I dare not say anything bad about Batman. I dare not say anything bad about Batman. The Batman fans are extremely passionate. They believe
just in general, nerds tend to be passionate.
Say what?
Nerds in general just tend to be extremely passionate.
That we do. So we can't help that. We just have those things that we love.
So, what character are you playing right now? Are you still playing the Paladin?
No, I'm actually we started a new campaign. The Paladin is retired. He is level 20, retired, living on a nice farm in El Terrell with his wife and his son. But now we started a new campaign in a homebrew world known as Aegis, where it's, I won't say low magic, but magic is only used by those of like highborn society.
Okay.
And there's a school for magic that only the highborn and natural magic users can attend. But then you have the second level of the city and the third level of the city, which is like, like the urban and rural areas, the lower part of society. And they have this material that they use, this man-made version of magic that they've created. And so those of high society who are more of the ancient believing They stand against the new man-made magic, and those who advocate for the man-made magic stand against, those who are still with the old ways. And so now I'm actually playing a younger version of Maximilian, because as everyone was creating their characters, just about everyone on the team is from the Undercity. It's from the lower part of society. And so I was like, I really don't know what character I want to play. I was like, is anybody gonna be from the Highborn? And he was like, no, so far everybody's from, everybody's from the Undercity. I was like, okay, great. I'm gonna be a spoiled rich brat.
Nice.
They're like, what? I was like, yeah, I'm gonna play Max. They're like, is that your character from TikTok? It's like, yeah, except he's gonna be younger, and he's gonna be a spoiled rich brat and he's gonna be a high cruster from the high society. So starting off level 1, divine soul sorcerer, variant human, meta magic adept as the starting feat. And since I come from high society and I attend the school for magic, which is named Veritas, I was able to start with the Strixhaven background.
We need a magic adept or martial adept or magic initiate for the monk. Like all those classes that like have like that limited resource. Like so we need one that gives you 2 key points and lets you use it for whatever, maybe flurry. I guess even if it's just flurry of blows, or gives you unarmed damage at a D4 or something.
That would be nice. Ooh, you can use one of the key points to do Fury of Blows, or you can spin them both to do a stunning strike.
Yeah, so that one, I guess that one would be hard because of the like you can't do stunning strike until 5th level generally. Right? Is it 5th or is it 6th? I think it's 5th. But either way, I just want monks to get more key points, because like if you notice like all of the after a certain point, like they started trying to fix the monk by having their abilities not require key points or giving them free uses before you spend key points, because it's
that
like
is true.
New players, they always want to play a Way of the Four Elements monk because it's because they're like they know Last Airbender and it's like that seems really cool, but then when you get in there and it's like, oh, round 2 you're out of key points.
yeah, like man, especially at early levels, like you run through those key points like nothing, nothing. It would be nice to have like a monk adept feat.
Yeah,
I guess call it monk adept or martial art adept.
So for the game that I was running, one of the players, and she was a new player, was playing a monk. So like early on, I just gave them a magic item that doubled their key points.
Not bad.
So that they could like do the cool stuff.
I played in a campaign before it got horrible, where in the general shop, he actually made it to where you could buy mana potions that would replenish, that you could take. I think it was as a bonus action. You could take it as a bonus action and it would replenish your key points. So that was one way they got around having to always either short or long rest to get them back.
Yeah. I mean, that part is nice because they get them back fast, but depends on the campaign you're running, right? If how many short rests, like in our games, we don't do that many combats. So like, and I feel like most of the people I talk to don't do a lot of combats either. So like anything that resets on a short rest is far less useful for them. So like monks take a hit, warlocks take a hit.
True.
Because I don't know, what is your gaming group like? Is there a lot of combat? Is it more narrative driven?
We have a good mix. Like this past Sunday when we had our session 1 for the new campaign,
Yeah.
it was a good mix of storytelling and combat because we started at a festival
Nice.
called Bygones Day, where basically everybody's social status doesn't matter and everybody just comes down to this one place in the city and it's just a big festival. And
Sounds like an
you
excuse
know,
for the rich folk to slum it.
yeah. That's literally what the DM said. He was like, yeah. He was like, an excuse for the rich folks to slum it. He said, and then he added some caveats like it's also a day where you get to set aside differences, or if you have beef with someone,
Yeah.
you actually go to them and you settle it. And or you can either make fun of them by literally dressing up as the person that you have beef with.
Yeah.
So my character, like when he had each of us introduce ourselves, and why were we at Bygones Day? And so my character was there with his girlfriend that his parents don't approve of because she's low class, and she's also half elf, half Goliath. So there's that. Oh, and she's an Ethereum user, so she's for man-made magic. But my character was introduced walking around. Another character was introduced tailing behind me, about to try to rob me or do something. And we spent like the first probably hour just role playing. Just role playing, just walk, each of our characters, either my character's walking through telling his girl about all the different animals in the menagerie. Nora, the rogue, was over conversing with the people in the freak show. Panjiro, the country bumpkin swordsman, was watching all of the different performers. He was most interested in those using swords and the sword dancers. And the two guys who are guards for the city, they were just standing around watching everyone making their rounds. And then right as we're just having a good time, boom, out of nowhere, battle begins, and the festival is being attacked by these overdosed, magically induced superhumans that are like berserkers, kind of like berserker zombies. And that's how we all got brought together.
Nice. So you guys started off not knowing each other.
Not knowing each other at all. And he didn't go the classic tavern route.
Yeah.
Because we were all wondering, like, okay, so like, if I'm from high society and this person's from here and this person's from here, this person is from outside the city, what the heck is going to happen to bring us all together? And when we saw it, we were like, that was cool. Did not expect session 1 to start at a festival.
That's definitely a cool way to go. Although I will say I never again do I try and get the group together. I just don't. I guess it was like early on when we started Nerdarchy. I heard someone say in a YouTube video they'd been gaming a lot less than me, and they're like, "You don't have to get the players together. You can make them do it themselves." And I was like, because I had spent decades agonizing on every game on how to get them together and how to get them as to work together as a group and know each other. And I was like, it was such an epiphany when I realized I didn't have to do that.
And
There's nothing wrong with it. Like, it's not. I don't think there's anything wrong with it, but it is a lot of extra work on the GM
to try to come up with a way. It's like, okay, none of you have anything in common. How in the world am I going to get y'all to come together?
Yeah.
Like, and make it make sense.
Right. And then, like, when you flip that and you're like, as the GM, you're like, you tell me how you guys know each other, right? Then, like, it's so much. For one, it's just easier because you're the GM, but also I feel like it binds the group together better because you got to work together to come up with these stories of like how you all met and why you guys would be working together.
and it helps them create their own personal bonds between the different characters.
Yeah.
Like in our Max, despite being highborn and a sorcerer, he loves to go to the theater and watch the swords parts. And so during the battle, when everything kicked off, he noticed Panjiro was like a master swordsman. He was, he sees the guy over there using a katana, and he's like, "Whoa, hold up, dude has skills." So he instantly had like a respect for him. Like, okay, like we're all fighting together and trying to stave off this attack, but you got some skill.
Yeah.
And then who was it? Gabriel, one of the guards who came and helped with the fight. He, using magic out in the open in the Undercity is like kind of frowned upon. So when all of a sudden this big battle kicks off and Max just runs up and starts unleashing cantrips like nothing and not using any type of arcane focus, just naturally, he's like, you do know where you are, right? Like, yeah, you sure you don't want to pull that crossbow off your side? Like just all willy-nilly with the magic, huh? Just and then of course the other guard, Dante, cannot stand my character because he's highborn.
Yeah.
And
It's
then
relatable,
you have Nora.
very relatable.
Oh, Dante is actually the character played by the DM from our previous 2 campaigns. So he's a player now. Utterly hilarious. But like just as we came together, it was all organic. Like it was really, really organic. Like we have one character named Isa, who is like this little 2 to 3 foot kitsune, with 4 tails, and he has Asperger's, and so seeing that role played is really interesting, and like different players and the different characters have like acclimated towards their character very well. Like it's an interesting caveat.
So in your previous campaigns, did both of them go to level 20?
No. Descent into Avernus, when I came in, they were at level 6, and by the time we finished, we were at level 13. And then when we picked up, we literally did we did a legacy, where Descent into Avernus ended. There was a 2-year gap in within the story, and then our very same characters picked back up to begin Rise of Tiamat.
And that went to level 20.
And then we played from 13 to 20.
Yeah. Now, had all the other players had they played from level 1? Because I know you stepped into the campaign after it had already started.
I think they began at level 3.
We start a lot of our campaigns at 3.
I think they began at 3, either 3 or I think they actually did begin at 3. Because when I came in, they had like just hit level 6, and they had just hit level 6. They had already did the part with the Vanthampur. Spoiler, sorry. They had already did that, and basically it was getting ready to go to Candlekeep and get transported to Avernus.
So it's pretty rare for characters to go all the way to 20th level. It took me, I had to play this stupid game for decades before we finally did that. I'm a little jealous.
It was fun. It was fun, and it was a learning experience for all of us, including the DM.
Yeah.
Because of course, as we get so powerful, the enemies that the book might have won't righteously stand up to us at that level. And so we did have a good few encounters where, like, he throws out, these mobs, and like we just wash through them. Just within one round of combat, we've just demolished whatever was there. He's like, okay, yeah, we have to rework some things for the next session. So then all of a sudden you come back the next session, and you're in a battle against cultists from the dragon cult, and you kill them. It takes a few more hits than from before, but this time when you kill this cultist, all of a sudden an insignia or rune appears on his hand or on somewhere on their body, and then it glows, and their bodies explode with magic. So anybody within the vicinity of that body, now you have to make a save to not take an insane amount of damage, because now the dragon cultists know who they're fighting and they know who you are. So now they've inscribed all of their cultists with these basically self-detonating magic runes that if they are killed by someone from your party, your group of adventurers, their bodies will automatically detonate in a magical explosion.
So basically they're IDUs?
Yes. Yes.
I think I put the letters in the wrong order.
IUD?
That's it.
I'm not very well versed in when it comes to military terms, but I've heard that one before.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think we've all heard that one way too much. In previous editions, you had the Glyph of Warding spell, and it wasn't like worded as well as it is now. And we used to put it on coins, had the heads of Warhammers. Like, we used to abuse the heck out of that because it wasn't limited by like now, like you can't move it. If you move it, it deactivates or whatever. But before it didn't have that on there. Yeah. So before,
but technically, isn't a weapon stationary?
Well, I don't. I think
the surface of the weapon is stationary. It's just the fact, I'm moving it.
Yeah. Well, I think it's worded in a way where if an object's moved more than 10 feet from where it was originally cast, or
those little caveats, they had to stop you all.
Yeah. Well, they were us. That's probably it. Like, you figure the designers are older, so the designers were older, so they were probably the ones doing it just like the same way we were, or their players were doing it to them, and they had to be like, all right, we need to end this. That's why concentration exists as well.
Yes, good old con saves. Gotta love those.
Yeah, well, in before, like, if there was a big battle, the wizard would be like, all right, give me 10 minutes and I'll be ready, and they would just like cast every spell they had and just layer it on them, so they go into battle with a dozen spells already cast, and that's why you can only concentrate on one spell at a time.
Yes. What would you, how would you rule it if someone wanted to cast 2 concentration spells?
Well, I guess, it hasn't really come up, like, rules is written is if you cast the second one, it replaces the first one.
First one is
now
gone.
I've done something where I gave a character like a special familiar that could hold 1 concentration for them. And there's a bunch of spells that don't require concentration. It's just a matter of knowing which ones you can do and which ones you can't.
And there are a lot of good spells that have long durations that do not require concentration.
Yeah, mirror image, blink. They're some of my favorites. Stack them with haste.
Is Sanctuary another one?
Sanctuary. I am not sure if Sanctuary is a concentration or not. Flame Shield is another one that I know isn't. So my first 5e character was a Eldritch Knight War Wizard. I started out as an Evo Wizard, but as the different rules came out, I switched to War Wizard. So like I was always trying to figure out like what spells could I layer on my wizard. Before we went into a fight.
I do like Spiritual Weapon.
Yeah, that's definitely a favorite. So we're at the hour mark. Final thoughts before we head on out?
Final thoughts. It has I have truly enjoyed myself, and using silvery barbs in a campaign actually is fun.
There you go. As always, folks, links are in the description. Go go check them out. Go check out the TikToks. And until next time, stay nerdy.
Stay nerdy.